Mueller, the president knew about that Trump Tower meeting with a possible Russian agent, that he supported it, and that he therefore lied about what he knew thereafter. How does this affect what's going on with the probe? And how does it mesh with what we learned from the Cohen tapes earlier this week? Everybody's got a perspective of this. We have former New York City mayor, current counsel to the president, Rudy Giuliani, here with us tonight.
Hey, Chris.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you taking the opportunity. What is your response to the headline? You did not look very impressed in the green room.
No, I expected something like this from Cohen. He's been lying all week. I mean, or for two. He's been lying for years. I mean, the tapes that we have demonstrate any number of very serious lies by him back a year and a half ago, including his fooling people, hiding tape recordings, telling they weren't recorded, lying to their face, breaking faith with them, taping his client, which is a disbarable offense. I don't see how he has any credibility. I mean, this is basically, if you had a trial, there won't be a trial. If you had a trial, you'd say, well, which lie do you want to pick? You want to pick the first lie, the second lie, or maybe some new lie? There's nobody that I know that knows him that hasn't warned me that if he backs up against the wall, he'll lie like crazy, because he's lied all his life.
All right, so the flip on it is this. To do that to me, to tell me a lie, that's the media, you know, what's the record? To go to Bob Mueller and say, he knew I was in the meeting, he heard his son, puts his son in the mix here also. His son told him he supported. He says, according to our reporting, there were other people in the room. So this is something that Bob Mueller should be able to figure out, right?
Well, the question isn't what happened in the room. The question is, what did the president know, as you said, and Bernstein said, what did he know and when did he know it? So it would have to be people in the room with the president,
right,
that can corroborate Cohen, which there won't be because it didn't happen. And then it becomes a credibility contest between two or three witnesses who say one thing and Cohen who says another.
Assuming they say different things.
I'm pretty comfortable about that. I haven't had a chance to go back and look at all of it, but I remember it pretty well. There's no doubt in my mind that he's just not credible. I would not accept him as a witness, as a prosecutor. If Mo has any other kind of case,
this man look evil, man,
really
honestly.
Giuliani,
you look like an evil man.
Confidence in the case when you rely on a guy like this. When you rely on a guy where, before you finish with him, you're going to have such a string of lies, you just can't trust him. And when you put him under this kind of pressure, and what's his history been? His history has been lying under pressure.
One step sideways for a second, and then we'll get back into the tapes, and I know that you have responses prepared. The president says that he has an eye for talent, and he always has the best people around him. I'm sure you won't disagree with that when you're at He put his trust in this man for years. He entrusted him with his most sensitive matters and said, I gave him full discretion to do things I didn't need to know. It's a fundamental aspect of the president's narrative of what happened with the women. Why did he have somebody so close to him if the guy is so incredible?
That's kind of part of the human condition, right? I mean, we all make mistakes about people who turn out to be disloyal to us. You know, Benedict Arnold was disloyal to George Washington, the greatest president, right? So anybody can Brutus and Caesar. I mean, you can go back to ancient classical literature and you can find people who you think you trust and they turn out to be scoundrels. I saw the president when the president first found out that he had been taped. And the president was completely shocked.
Oh, I believe that.
And he wasn't angry. You know, President Trump can get angry sometimes. He was disappointed, almost like a father who's been betrayed by his son. And it was very moving for Jay and me.
But he obviously believed that Michael Cohen was a man of good character, who he could depend on, and who told him the truth.
Up until a few days ago, yeah. I think he did. He had no reason to distrust Michael. He didn't select Michael for government. You know Michael was bitter about that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be on tapes, without getting into the details of that. And he's very, very jealous and bitter about the kids, which also comes across on the tapes. So you got a whole scenario here that's really, really sick. And I agree with you, the president didn't know. But gosh, I've been fooled by people. Totally fooled. And I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I prosecute a lot of people. But I've been fooled.
If it's true, indulge me for a moment. If it's true, if Cohen's telling the truth, I was there, I heard his son, he said, this is what I've got. The president, or then candidate Trump said, great, let me know. And it happened. What do you think that means legally for the president?
I don't know, I haven't had a chance to analyze it, and I don't want to assume that hypothetical, because it's so contrary to all the facts that I know up until now. I'm not going to assume that. And I'm not going to argue, well, even if it happened, it may not be as significant as all of the anti-Trump people are going to blow it up to. But I honestly don't think it's that significant. But in any event, that doesn't matter. It didn't happen. That's our position.
But the only way we know it didn't happen is because Trump Jr. says it didn't happen, and the president says it didn't happen.
Correct. And a person who is found to be an incredible liar, who's got a tremendous motive to lie now because he's got nothing to give, says it all of a sudden at the 11th hour. I don't think anybody believes that, Chris.
All right, well, we'll see, right? We'll
Wow.
see if Mueller wants to take the meeting. He wants to hear.
Well, I don't know why he wouldn't take the meeting. You want to hear it. But then the question becomes, can he corroborate it?
Right.
If he can't corroborate it, it's useless.
Well, you said earlier, he might not want this. He may know things
You still want to
already.
hear it. I mean, he's going to be running around saying this. You want to hear what he has to say. But as far as I can tell from the record, it is not corroborated by anything. In fact, it's disputed.
All right, now here's your problem, okay? And this will get us into the earlier scoop we had in the week. Michael Cohen has a credibility issue, stipulated for the point of argument. You got it. So does your client. Your client has a credibility issue. He has said things that are not true, and this week became an example of that. The idea that he didn't know anything about Karen McDougal until after the fact seems to be disproved
Wrong.
by that tape. How no?
Nothing on that
We'll
tape.
go one by one.
I told you the key part of that tape that they were pushing on was the check or no check thing.
Which I never understood, but make your case first.
Well,
I understood your case. I don't understand the
They
significance.
wanted
Go
to
ahead.
say that he wanted to do this transaction
Yes.
in cash, which of course is absurd. It was a corporate transaction.
Right.
You can't do it in cash. So trying to attribute those words to him was like forcing an interpretation of what is in fact a tape that has to be carefully analyzed on people. The idea of a cash transaction here is absurd. The idea of check makes it clear that the president wanted a memorialization of it, wasn't afraid of it. That's important. It's important to mental state. It's important to, did he have an intent to deceive, which he didn't. The president hasn't done anything wrong here. As far as the president not telling the truth, he's told, there's nothing that contradicts what he said about this investigation. Not a darn thing.
What?
Well, it's
I have been back and forth, up and down on everything that he says. What are you talking
I set it
about?
up with Stormy Daniels. I paid it. I paid it out of my own pocket. I did it for the family. I didn't do it for campaign purposes. That is word for word exactly the version we have, not only from the president, but from all the people around the president.
all right.
That corroborates our case and kind of throws the Stormy Daniels thing out of the picture. So he kind of screwed himself on that.
All right,
So what does he have left?
Let's take it one at a
He has
time.
this ridiculous collusion thing. So it's got to go a lot further than this, by the way.
All right, but let's
Did he ever? Did Trump ever meet with Russians? Did he ever agree with them? What do you mean he colluded? The Russians hacked. Nobody thinks the president was involved in the hacking. Did he get the fruits of it unknowingly? No. But if he did, that's not a crime. There's no crime there.
Understood. But there's a difference between something illegal and something being wrong. Now, one thing, you got me handcuffed on one thing. What Michael Cohen told me on that tape, I told him was off the record. Even though what happened in terms of the recording of it, that's one issue. It was off the record, so I can't corroborate what you're saying.
I can. I read the
I know you did. I know, but I just wanted to be clear. I'm not going
I'm
back
not
on
going to
my
ask
word.
you did, Chris, I told you this then, I said it on Fox, said it all over. You did exactly the right thing. In fact, Chris, thank you for doing it. Because
This
you questioned the way a lawyer
this
would
man
question
just looked like
and he got
an
everything out.
evil person to
He got
me.
100. I could have done a
Honestly.
better job of getting him.
Rudy
to corroborate
Giuliani just looked
my
like
client's
he
statement.
looked like him more
He
evil than Donald
he did it
Trump.
3 or 4 times.
It was off the record. I can't talk about
But he
it.
put it
unless
on the
he
record by
releases it.
taping the darn thing
I understand.
surreptitiously
Yes,
by
absolutely.
lying to you.
I understand.
And
But
why are you
just
trying
because
to
somebody else
contradict
does
the
wrong
plan?
thing doesn't mean I'm going to do the same thing.
Are you trying to
let me just
contradict
take
yourself?
you back to something else that I can speak to. On the tape that we played on the show this week,
Which was the first one now.
yes, the president had a familiarity with what Michael Cohen was telling him that they needed to be doing with regard to McDougal and the other assets that AMI may or may not still have. He knew the dollar amount. He knew what was happening and why. That shows knowledge before the transaction. That is inconsistent with what the president and with what Hope Hicks said from the campaign. He knew nothing about this until after the fact. Not true, Rudy. We know it from the tape.
No, that's not right. The tape is really to be argued either way on whether he knew or he didn't know. He doesn't say,
Why
I
do you
know
know the
that.
dollar amount?
Cohen could have told him 2 hours before and not taped it. I mean, how do there's one conversation between Cohen and the president that's taped. You think they had one conversation in 2 years?
I don't know, but
Not
I
only
know
that,
that when I hear
not
it,
only
it's
that,
not new
here's
information.
another thing that he did. When Trump said check, and everybody agrees he said check at the end, he cut it off abruptly. Who knows what else was discussed then? There's no doubt the president was very surprised by the idea of financing. That they were going to have to make some kind of payment.
It was a clumsy word to use. I think it was Cohen trying to legitimize the discussion.
So
Frank.
why do we have to make everything like against the president? He
How
was
many- I'm
surprised.
giving you one take.
He
on
was
one thing.
surprised. He was surprised by financing. You can hear it in his voice.
He said,
He
"What
said
about
finance. What finance?
Right.
Which
Rudy, it sounds like you're trying to
And then I
contradict
think he says, "I'll
somebody,
pay cash."
or you're trying to
Oh, no,
contradict
no,
yourself.
he didn't say check.
No, Don, he doesn't say that. He says, don't pay cash. No, Cohen says.
I
And he
had a
says,
forensic expert look
And
at
I
it,
have-
but he
I have-
says he said
and I
something
had
else.
3 forensic experts.
And your 3 are better.
I'm just telling you.
Well,
what
I'm
the
telling you,
forensics
if you
said.
want to listen to it,
Oh my
I
I've listened
God.
to it so many times.
Well,
I
then
never
listen
want to
to
hear
it.
any
You
of them
will
again.
see- you will
I'm
hear
just
it.
saying, don't get upset about it.
I never said that. People are lying about it. It says, don't pay cash.
Wait, why would the forensic expert lie about what he heard? I'm just
I
saying,
don't
be
know.
open to the possibility you're wrong.
I am not wrong. I heard it myself.
You could be wrong,
I'm not wrong. I heard it myself.
Wow.
Unclear on the tape.
No, it's not. Not if you used to listen to thousands and thousands of hours of tape and dealing with inaudibles like I am and knowing how to enhance them yourself, which I know how to do. What? Be that as it may, the man is a liar. A
You're the
proven
best,
liar.
Rudy.
There's
You
no
and Donald
way
Trump
you're gonna bring down the president
are
of
the
United
two
States on the
most
testimony
well-educated
uncorroborated of a proven
people
liar.
in the
I
United
guarantee
States
you,
of
this guy
America.
is a
And
proven
everybody else
liar.
I
stupid.
hear what you're
A
saying.
year ago,
I
when I
get what
wasn't
you're
his
saying.
lawyer, people in your profession told me this guy will flip because he is an inherent pathological liar.
Well, look, we only know what you show. We'll see what proof there is. If he's a liar,
I'm not worried
that's
about
that.
it at all.
But I'm saying credibility is a problem for the president too. That's not me being unfair. It's me being objective.
But the president's credibility is not an issue.
Why not?
Because the president, people are.
Says he didn't know about the meeting. Maybe he did.
You gotta make a case against him first. You haven't made a case against him.
But that is going to be
No,
proof
it's
of
not.
part
It's
of
not a case when a liar says something. This guy's testimony will be worth nothing.
So how you calling the man
If
such
the
a liar?
president
So
knew
what
about
happened?
that
You ain't a
meeting in
liar?
Tower,
President
and
Trump
if
ain't a
he
liar?
did, it
Or
matters.
Donald Trump?
It does.
He ain't a liar?
It's not a smoking gun. It matters.
Well, that's not the
Man,
bar.
if you guys
But
know how
that's-
disgusting you guys look from the outside here, looking in on you
I
guys.
know that. I know
Wow.
that. I've been over this in great detail. I've talked to the corroborating witnesses. This guy is walking into a trap. But
You've talked to the other people that were in the room?
a month ago, 2 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what they say the president was
Mhm.
told and not told.
I
Mhm.
know what they say.
Mm-hmm.
All right, fine. Then I accept you.
I know
that.
what they
We'll see what
said.
you can do to prove it.
And I know that he's walking into a situation in which there will be no corroboration. Gosh almighty, why did he tape it? He taped everything else. He's got 100 tapes. Why did he tape that? Maybe he did. Maybe he's got a tape of that he erased. You ever think of that?
No.
You don't think he would erase the tape?
Maybe he would. I
I
don't
can
know.
demonstrate to you with my forensic expert that he cut that tape off. that
Well,
first
we
tape.
know that, but there's good and bad reason for that. He could have done it, as you're saying, as part of an orchestration, or it could have been that he got an incoming call and it cut off the app that was recording it on the iPhone. That's a problem that we can have with that.
Well, good, but we can argue both ways, and that creates a reasonable doubt.
Absolutely. Listen, again.
And the
but-
reasonable doubt has to be given to the person who's under investigation.
I'm with you, although Rudy, let's just point something out for the audience. I'm trying to make points about credibility. You say, well, that doesn't make a case. And then
Chris,
you say,
you're
well,
making-
that's reasonable doubt. But
you're
what is
making-
it? Do you
you're
want a
making-
legal context or do you
You're
not?
making little points about credibility. And there's couple of major points about the guy who you're relying on for this big story tonight. Number one, he lied to people about taping them, both the president and other people. And not only that, he went to subterfuge in order to do it. Like a
I
whole
think you
routine
guys
that
are
shows
just
how
ticked
pathological
off
he is.
that Michael
Second,
Cohen is saying a lot of things
we had
that's gonna
statements from
screw
him
your friend
corroborating
Donald
witnesses.
Trump.
The entire Stormy Daniels
And you
situation.
guys are just
Exactly as the president
ticked
has
off.
told him.
But if he's a liar,
And
then why
wish
wasn't
he
he
would
lying
shut
then
up
trying
and
to
not
get
say
over it? Somebody like
anything.
me, you got a good story for the
Sad.
president.
That's the point.
Who he seemed to love more than
Spill the
anyone.
beans.
Now you're making some
Michael
estimate
Cohen,
of
spill the
total
beans.
useless. You don't know when he's telling the truth. Unless, you don't even know if he's telling the truth when he's on tape, because he lies on tape. So, the man is what we call in the legal profession incredible. He's not credible.
And you don't think the president has a similar credibility problem?
Anything like that. The president doesn't go around taping people online.
No, not the taping line.
Yeah.
Although, Rudy, be careful. He
Yeah.
said he did exactly that with Jim Comey. That's what
He
his
did it as a
suggestion.
test.
And then no tapes ever came out.
He did it as a test of Comey. Did it as a test
Oh,
of Comey.
man.
Did he tape Jim Comey?
Did not.
Oh,
And he
God.
said 3 days later, after he said that.
People,
Did they tape the interview that happened
That's
in
the
Helsinki,
United
where he
States.
said that
Those
we'll
are the
put out tapes
people-
later and you'll
some
get
of the
to see what
people
was
who were
done and not
supposed to
done?
be
I don't-
running
I
the
don't
country.
Sarah Sanders was supposed to
Oh,
get
my
that
God.
never happened, but I'm saying,
You're
it goes to
talking
credibility.
about the meeting between,
Yeah,
I have no idea.
no, it was in an interview that he had done about NATO, and he said, I record all these interviews now, and you'll get that tape. We never got the tape.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of the
So
president
did the
telling the
reporter say it?
yeah, and they said, well, we have our own to show the true context. It never came out. What I'm saying is this: he's got credibility issues on things small, medium, and large.
Large.
That's why those
You can't-
tweets are being relevant because he's been
You
lying
can't
about
make
this
a case against
investigation.
somebody based on credibility issues. You gotta prove.
But credibility
The burden of
counts, and
proof
that
is
may
on-
be why you don't want him to testify, is because if
No, I don't want him to testify because I don't want him to be put up against liars. I don't want a
Oh,
situation
because
like.
liar plus liar, what does that
he
equal?
says the truth about this. There are 3 witnesses.
What does a liar plus another
They
liar
commit
equal?
perjury Because one guy, a proven liar, says the opposite.
But he puts himself in the same box. When he says there was no Russian interference, he knows it's not true. He says it anyway. That's a
He
lie.
hasn't said that.
He said it a
He
million
said he
times.
God.
He hasn't. Yeah, he has done nothing wrong. He hasn't colluded with the Russians.
He
hasn't
says
been
Russian
involved.
interference is a hoax.
He did
It's
not.
something the Democrats
He-
made up.
He just gave a press conference in which he said that he accepts the
Yeah,
findings.
now, because
No,
it
a
doesn't.
year ago.
Oh,
He put out an interview of him 8 months ago, 10 months
Oh,
ago,
my
saying
God.
exactly the same
no.
thing.
Come on. You know that he
Mm.
has said so many times it's a hoax and a witch hunt and the Democrats made it up.
Man, oh,
But
man.
lost.
The witch
Come on.
hunt is trying to inveigle him.
For the first time in my
Fine, you should
life,
draw the distinction like you just did.
He did.
I follow
Yes,
politics,
he did.
man.
Okay, well, we're gonna go back and forth.
I don't
Did he-
follow
did he-
politics,
how about we
but-
go to the tape?
I've never been
No,
more right against you than I am
The
right now.
United
You're
States.
absolutely wrong. Right after Helsinki.
Sad.
He said I accept.
After he adopted
And-
Putin's position. Come on, I was in Helsinki. One of the most embarrassing things I've ever
Would
witnessed.
you let me? will you let me
Please,
finish?
go ahead, say
That's
it.
another personal attack.
It's not, it was embarrassing to see him say,
No, because
Putin's
you're
very
embarrassed. I
convincing,
wasn't embarrassed.
and our intelligence community, they say what they say.
You have
The only people who are not embarrassed is the people who benefits from it.
The president.
Bottom
said
line, that's it.
That he accepted the fact that there was Russian interference. I don't
Only
exactly know
people
how
who
long
don't
ago, at least 6
offended
months,
by
8
it
months,
is
maybe a
people
year.
who
And I'll-
getting
I'll-
something from it.
Since that time, he said Russian interference is a hoax. I will send you a list of stuff that will crash your phone.
What he is saying is that the attempt to inveigle him
I get it.
with all this craziness, $20 million worth of investigation, all this obstruction nonsense that only comes out of the fact that you have this investigation that started with Peter Strzok running it for 8 months. That is a hoax. He's right. That is.
Well, first of all, we do not know that he is right about it being a hoax. It's certainly a legitimate investigation.
Oh, God.
Pompeo says it, Coates says
A
it,
legitimate
members of
investigation.
Congress say it.
A legitimate investigation of the Russians. It is hardly a legitimate investigation of him.
Why does
This is
Rudy
a
Giuliani
political
seems like he's
investigation.
no
started by
more
the
than
people who
everybody
helped
else?
Hillary out of her jam. All those people put on the case.
Republicans.
Oh, man.
Peter Strzok.
Comey, Mueller, Rosenstein.
Oh yeah, there's some Republicans.
Well, they're either Republicans or they're not.
Well,
They
Mueller
got different kinds.
hires all Democrats.
He didn't hire all Democrats. It was about 50.
No Republican. Not a single
He
Republican.
does have to. He has Republicans on
Not
his
that I
side.
know of. Certainly not Republicans that are engaged, like Weissman was engaged.
You know,
like.
It's something when people lie and, try to cover up things, but when people blatantly lie in front of you and try to make you seem like, what you're seeing is not what you're seeing and what you're hearing is not what you're hearing. Well, the president, Donald Trump, said that the other day anyway. So what you're seeing and reading is not what it
He
is.
didn't know who Mueller was. Mueller was a guy who
Didn't know who he
Oh,
was.
man.
Be the head of the
Come on, what
FBI.
I mean is he didn't know all the bad things about Mueller. He knew that Mueller was a former FBI guy. He needed an FBI guy. He interviewed him, and on the spot he decided he's not the right guy.
That's what I don't
Sad though, people. I never thought I would see the U.S. United States of
You
America
select that guy as the special prosecutor.
look
or he just
so
turned down
weak
for a job.
Rosenstein did. The guy that Trump administration.
and so pitiful.
They picked
I think
Rosenstein.
it was a very serious mistake of judgment.
Everything the president says, somebody have to clarify it. That's not what he says, and that's not what he meant, and all this and all that. So what is he doing in there then?
They are contorting evidence
Wow.
in order to get him. They are putting undue pressure on people in order to get it. They're putting Manafort in solitary
And then these people
confinement,
just get so
which
offensive
sounds
when
like
people
Russians in the US.
bring out the
In
truth
order
to
get
them.
him to break. And maybe
They
they
do
succeed in
everything to
cracking
cover
this
it
guy
up.
and getting him to lie. I don't know. I'm not sure of that. I have, well, I shouldn't say it.
Then don't say.
He has, Michael has disappointed me so much that I can't believe it. When I saw that he taped the president, when I listened to the other tapes, some of which you haven't heard, and the way in which he deceives people, there's no way this guy survives like even a motion to dismiss anything that happens.
Well, here's what we know for sure.
He'll ruin the whole case.
This is going to be a fundamental issue of credibility. And if you're right about it, then this is going to go one way and very
There's no other way for
quickly.
it to go. President did anything wrong.
Rudy Giuliani, thank you very much. No reason to get so angry about
I'm
everything.
not
It's all
angry.
about civil discourse.
I am upset about the lying that's going on. And I am getting upset that this thing is being carried to ridiculous extents now.
I understand your position. but
Donald
know
Trump
here,
making you
tough
cry
affair.
for him and he's lying to
If
you.
you're banging on my table, you're going to break it. It's very
I did
expensive.
not bang on the table, Chris. I got upset about the way in which every single thing is construed against the president.
Oh my God.
In fact, anybody under investigation is entitled to the benefit of the doubt.
100%.